Thank you.
In my disorganized fashion.
What a cute little bag.
That
Can
one.
you ask Heather and Susan to stay after the meeting? I have the contract. They literally just have to sign it.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'd like to call to order the August 17th, 2022 Geneva Area City School Board of Education meeting. Welcome to all of those in attendance tonight. Mr. Lillie, the roll call.
Mr. Arndt.
Present.
Ms. Fisher.
Here.
Mrs. Metzler.
Here.
Mrs. Dixon.
Here.
And Mrs. Ortiz.
Present.
Are we in compliance?
Yes, we are.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we get started with the meeting this evening, please join me in a moment of silence to honor the young life of Sinjin Sheneman, a Geneva High School student gone far too soon. Our heartfelt sympathies go out to Sinjin's family and his friends. Is there any correspondence this evening?
Just a few items. I'd received an email from a parent with a dress code question and asked the building principal to reach out to that parent. And then I also had a pharmacist reach out offering to provide a flu shot clinic in our district.
Thank you. Are there any agenda modifications?
There is an addition to N10D, extracurricular resignation. There is an addition to N10.4, extracurricular assignments, an addition to N10.9, activity workers, and there is a new N10.
Okay. Thank you. It is now time for the hearing of the public. This will last a total of 30 minutes. Each speaker will have 5 minutes to speak. If you have something to address to the board, you can step up to the mic at the front of the auditorium and state your name and address for the record. We will have another hearing of the public toward the end of the meeting.
Jennifer Wilson, 3215 South Myers Road, Geneva. I'm a taxpayer in this school district, and I also take issues with the board, the superintendent, and the treasurer. Fix things now. I emailed the board last week regarding dress code, who sent Mrs. Brzenko to recite the student handbook to me. I didn't contact Mrs. Brzenko because my issue is with the rule itself, a rule that I'm positive Mrs. Brzenko did not write. Actually, from what I understand, that the board, you guys, adopted the dress code. So I'm here to ask you in person why my elementary child cannot show her shoulders. I'm talking about a dress code, a dress with 3-inch thick shoulders, no gaps underneath her underarms. The photos are in your email. Please explain to me how my 9-year-old's shoulders are risky or sexy. If my 9-year-old daughter's shoulders are making you uncomfortable or think bad thoughts, the issue is with you, and you shouldn't be in our schools. If my child's shoulders distract the boy next to her, maybe he should look somewhere else. Stop telling our daughters they need to cover up so they aren't distracting and address the real issues. For the record, she's gonna wear the dress. She's 9 and her shoulders aren't seducing anyone.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tammy Such. I live at 151 Elm Street, and I am also a taxpayer in the school district, and I take issue with a lot of stuff that you're all doing. Most of all, what you're doing to the kids. We have no French teacher now. You put an ASL program in and no teacher for it. Why bother? What'd you put it in for? just to get the kids' hopes up. I have 2 kids, one in middle school, one in high school. What are their college futures are going to look like coming out of this school? You're failing. You're failing our kids. Do better.
Good evening. My name is Michelle Sabo. I live at 453 Eastwood Street. I am a taxpayer in this school district, and I also take issue with this board, this superintendent, and this treasurer. One of the board members stated recently that renting is stupid. I agree, especially when there are other viable options at your fingertips. I know what else is stupid. Stupid is not being proactive about vacating a building that the fire department is condemning. Stupid is not listening to the people of the community that elected you. And stupid is not putting the students of that same community as your #1 priority. I know that when you were first elected, you came to this stage with all the promise and the hopes of making great changes and making this school system great. I ask, no, I beg of you, please fix this now or resign.
What they don't like. They don't like.
Dale Korn, 119 Green Ridge Drive, Geneva. My wife is an employee of the Geneva area school districts, which I'm sure you'll find out here directly. You lay over there with, like you're not interested in anything.
I'm trying to hear.
Okay, well, that's not what it looks like.
Well, once again, you're misinformed. I'm trying to
Okay,
hear.
Mr. Arndt, I've watched you disrespect this entire auditorium. Not tonight, but previously. Ms. Treharn, you're not doing this district any good. I realize you think you're a doctor with all that, but you're not. Do what this district needs. For one, that would be resign. I will also be running when it comes up. I'm not from Geneva. I've lived all around the world, and I think y'all need a new breath of life in here, because watching this is a circus, and you're the biggest one. Mr. Marine guy. I'm retired Air Force. I would not be proud of what you've done in previous meeting. Okay? I'm speaking to you directly, Mr. Arndt. I watched you disrespect everybody else. I'm retired military. I've been in civilian aviation for 40 plus years. Get your shit together. Jesus. I see you looking at me.
Thank you, Mr. Korn.
Good for you.
We'll need a motion to approve the minute. Are you stepping down to the mic? Go ahead.
Sammy Lechner, 1602 State Route 307, Austinburg.
We can't, Amber. We can't hear.
I'm
That's because
sorry.
I didn't say anything yet.
I'm sorry, excuse me. Can you step closer to the mic so we can hear a little bit better?
Yeah. I want to thank the teachers that you have working for you. We've been in this district a long time now. I have an 11th grader and a 9th grader. And we've had a very pleasant experience thanks to a lot of these ladies in the audience and that aren't here. I know we have a need. There's a huge need for teachers, for aides, for everybody in this district. I hope you make it appealing to them to want to come here. I've had the opportunity to work with many of these people for the past 9 years, and I've had a great experience. I've been able to be a lunch lady, and I've gotten to know some of these students, and I loved them. I now get to be an aide, and I take pride in that, in getting to know the children. You know, and I want to do a good service to them as my daughters have received over their education. So please, do what you need to do. I know we're not the only district that is having issues in hiring people, but I just pray that you guys would do the right thing in getting the people we need for our kids.
Thank you. Okay, we would need a motion for the approval of the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? A roll call, please.
Mr. Arndt,
Yes.
Ms. Fisher,
Yes.
Mrs. Metzler,
Yes.
Mrs. Milliken Dixon,
Yes.
and Mrs. Ortiz.
Yes.
Is there a motion for the treasurer's financial report?
Moved.
Second.
And any discussion this evening? And the roll call, please.
Mrs. Fisher,
Yes.
Mrs. Metzler,
Yes.
Mrs. Milliken Dixon,
Excuse me, yes.
Mrs. Ortiz,
Yes.
and Mr. Arndt.
Yes.
And a motion to approve the invoices?
So moved.
Second.
And any discussion on that? And roll call, please.
Mrs. Metzler,
Yes.
Mrs. Milliken Dixon,
Yes.
Mrs. Ortiz,
Yes.
Mr. Arndt,
Yes.
and Ms. Fisher.
Yes.
And any informational items tonight, Mr. Lillie?
Again, you have the current investment report. I did want to report, I had mentioned at a previous board meeting that I would be attending a Board of Revision hearing on a claim to reduce the valuation of the property where our giant eagle sits. And the disposition of that claim was that the Board of Revision determined that the submitted owner's opinion of value is not an appraisal report and is given little weight, so the valuation remained the same.
Thank you. And Mrs. Dixon, a legislative report this evening?
Yes, thank you. Again, and you'll all be grateful for this, it's a little short because they're not in session. The Ohio Facilities Construction Commission approved guidelines for school security grants that were created from House Bill 687. And so part of that, in total, it appropriated $100 million, and Geneva will receive $250,000 of that, and that's $50,000 for each school building, so I thought that was a really good piece of news. The House Education and Labor Committee passed Bill H.R. 8450. This is, this is U.S. House, not Ohio. U.S. House and Labor Committee, and it's the Healthy Meals, Healthy Kids Act. So the bill would do the following. It would expand access to school meals, preserve the future of school meal programs, modernize the Special Supplemental Nutrition Program for Women, Infants, and Children, or WIC, address food insecurity during the summer, improve school meal capacity and sustainability, strengthen the child and adult care food program. Now it moves to the U.S. House floor for a vote. So this will address some of the things we talked about last month with Mrs. Jones about the school, the meals being, the students being charged again for meals and things. This federal bill addresses a lot of that, and so we may get some alleviation on that. House Bill 705 was introduced to authorize the Ohio School Athletic Association to be the sole authority to establish rules of play and athletic eligibility regulations for interscholastic athletics for grades 7 to 12 among its member schools. That's kind of a mouthful, and I'm a little bit unclear about the legislation's impact on Geneva schools. I'm currently working on getting more information on that so that I can present that hopefully next month. HB 711 was introduced to require the Ohio Tax Commissioner to disclose to an employee upon request the employee's withheld state taxes and require that the tax commissioner create a request form. Mr. Lillie's probably familiar with this one. It sounds like employees need to request information and then we're required to give them what's been withheld and that sort of thing. SB 356 was introduced to increase the eligibility age from 6 to 9 regarding the education of children experiencing developmental delays and state operating funding for districts and schools educating such children. The deadline used to be 6 years old. If they weren't diagnosed as special needs by 6 years old, it was too late and you had to jump through a bunch of other hoops. They've extended that so that now up to 9-year-old children can be identified and given the help that they need. The Labor, Health, and Human Services and Education Spending Proposal, these things are, the titles are crack me up, would allocate nearly $49 billion, an increase of approximately $5.5 billion for federal K-12 education programs. So, the U.S. House and its committees have now appropriated $49 billion for K-12 education, public education. They have not yet, of course, listed what those are and where that's all going, but that's at least passed. And so we should maybe getting some money down the pike from that. Congress, again, is in recess until September 13th. So that's my report. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ms. Fisher, an ATEC report this evening?
Yes, last week I attended the graduation pinning ceremony for 23 LPN graduates. There were about 200 friends and family in attendance who celebrated along with their graduates. On the 31st of August, I will be attending a similar ceremony for the RN graduates. Information Day was on August 7th. Packets were given out to over 400 students, and there are almost 300 left to distribute. Yesterday, August 16th, there was a celebration for the 20th anniversary of YO, or Youth Opportunities Program. This program assists youth ages 14 through 24 with problems they face in their attempts to be successful. Currently, there are about 850 young people connected with the program. Over the span of 20 years, about 15,000 young people have benefited from the skills and mentorship offered by local businesses. The businesses help with mentoring things such as interviewing, presenting yourself positively, and appropriate dress. There are programs that help with prepping for their GED, English as a second language, and parenting skills. The program is associated with the Job and Family Services and is funded by the county commissioners, who are constantly being challenged to find the money to take care of these at-risk kids. It just seems like every year more and more kids are falling into this category. A lot of times they have had to drop out of school for one reason or another, and quite a few of them have aged out of the system to go to public schools, and this is a place they can go to get training and help to catch them up so that they're competitive in the market. Our next board meeting is September 19th.
Thank you. We move on to the report of the superintendent.
So first, we have our administrators who will be providing a brief report, and we will start with Mrs. Doherty.
I still have my son voice yesterday. Oh, sorry, that was loud. Good evening. And when we think of summer, we usually think of the lazy days of summer and relaxing. When we think of schools, we might picture all the walls, the windows, the lawn mowing, the bathrooms, the desks. And with all that, our custodial cleaning staff have been very busy working. They do not have the lazy days of summer. They are busy from day one, taking everything out of the classrooms, cleaning. Our floors are beautiful, the walls are clean, and I'm just so proud of them for how much effort that they do put in to making the building ready for our students. And our teachers, they're already back, they're ready to go, they're excited. Many of them that might have come across an issue last school year, they've gone out and looked up professional development classes, courses, information on how to fix that or better themselves in that area. So many of them have taken classes over the summer and again, trying to hone their skills to be the best they can for Geneva and our students. So that's really what's been going on so far. We've also been trying to make sure that we're filling any open positions that we have. We did hire at Cork 2 additional intervention tutors, so I'll introduce them next month. And they are so excited. They're in the classroom, they're ready to go, and it's such a breath of fresh air having young teachers coming in, getting ready for everything to occur. So I'm really excited to start the school year. And our open house is Thursday, and that's from 5:30 to 6:30. And so we're looking forward to seeing everybody. And we've sent out a robocall as a reminder, and we'll send out some more reminders. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next will be Ms. Hrina.
Good evening. Oh, it's loud tonight. All right, so welcome back to our new school year. What Mrs. Doherty said, our summers, it's quiet for, many of us, but in our buildings, they're busy getting ready for the students. So I just wanted to thank our summer custodial staff, maintenance, technology, and housekeeping. So in my building, Mrs. Cheryl Kinney is our custodian, and she does a fabulous job. She works all summer to make sure that our building is clean and that our classrooms are ready to go. So I just want to give her a big thank you, along with Miss Ruth Caccaro, Mr. Matt Hanna, Mr. Mark Knapp. They stay 2 weeks in June, and then they come back in August. Jared Burgard, I'm sure a lot of people will thank him between this month and next month, doing our technology. Mr. Vince Rome and Mr. Dave Wright, just making sure that everything is where it needs to be for our teachers that are coming back next week and our students on the 28th. We do have some teacher and classroom changes at GPS. Last year, we did hire a 4th teacher for kindergarten based on enrollment numbers. We had 80 kindergartners last year. This year, we only needed 3 sections of kindergarten. But still, those students moved on to 1st grade. So Mrs. O'Keefe is going to move to 1st grade, and then Stacy Winchell vacated a 1st grade position at GPS. So Miss Stephanie McNeil is moving from 3rd grade to 1st grade. She'd been on that position and was awarded that before school was out. And we also will no longer have that 4th section of 3rd grade based on enrollment numbers. Location-wise, our behavior resource room will be occupying a new space in the building, along with Mrs. Porcello, our Director of Student Services, and Mrs. Kirby, her administrative assistant, in order to make room for Mrs. Alyssa Herder that will be starting with us as an elementary counselor. So we did kind of do some rearranging. So if you're in the building, I'll get to show you that when school starts. Also, we'll have a new Chromebook lab with existing Chromebooks that's already set up for teachers to take their students each day. Other than that, we're busy in the office. Mrs. Horvath is enrolling students each day. Mrs. Korn, the kindergarten teachers, and myself are awaiting the start of kindergarten. We did class lists last week. We mailed home appointment letters. So we're getting ready there. And then we're getting ready for open house next Thursday from 4 to 5. That's our first teacher day back. So things are moving right along, and we're excited to welcome our students back on the 28th.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Mrs. Brzenko.
Mrs. Doherty just interjected. She wanted me to thank Mrs. Angie Myers, who did our summer school programming. She served as head teacher. And all the teachers loved her, so. All right, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. As I walked into the building this year, after a couple of weeks of just dealing with my own students, my own family at home, I walked in to watch Mrs. Peck and Mrs. Cross in their duck boots trying to wax the floor. And when I walked in, she's like, no, 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 you can't walk there, you can't walk there. And she literally had to go around and let me in. And she said, in a couple hours, it'll be fine and you can walk on it. It took me probably 4 days before I would walk on it, because you walk in and it is just gleaming in there. And that's just one little aspect of what's been going on in the building. Her and Mrs. Cross have been working very hard. They're finally on the cafeteria area. The teachers have been in relentless. They kept emailing me, when can we come in, when can we come in? And when I finally told them they could come in, it was like 7:30 in the morning they were there. So I would like to thank all the teachers who have already been in, working hard, who've been emailing me, who've been working with their teacher partners. They're really trying to get things ready for the students. We want it to be as normal as possible, and I'm excited for the new year to see what they bring. Some of the staff changes for us this year: Helene Moore, she was at GPS. She's coming to us as an intervention specialist. Stacy Winchell is also coming from GPS. She is going back into the title tutor role. Helene and Mrs. Winchell have been in the buildings before, so it's nice to welcome them back. Dana King, she is new. She is an intervention specialist, K-3. Maria Gentry is also new, and she will be a title tutor for grades 3, 4, 5, and you will meet them and learn more about them in our next meeting. Other than our fabulous floors, some of the building projects this year, we have our parking lot has been sealed and expanded on the exit curve. I don't know if any of you have been in there when they're trying to get in and they're trying to leave, but we run into the grass a lot. There's a homemade like turn. So we have had that fixed. We also, like I said, the custodians are deep cleaning everything. We also purchased a wheelchair accessible swing to be installed in the playground, and they are working on that now, and it's going to be right next to the other swings. All I need is some mats to be able to get them accessible, and they're working on it, and I'm hoping it's ready before school. I'm very excited about that because we have a DD unit and a preschool that we have some students that are in wheelchairs, so I think that's going to be a very great thing for them. Upcoming dates, we also have open house on August 25th from 4:30 to 5:30. Come on out. August 29th is the first day of school for grades 1 through 5. August 31st is the first day of kindergarten, and September 6th is the first day of preschool. So again, I'd like to thank our custodian, our housekeeper, the cafeteria manager, the bus drivers. I know that they're cleaning buses, learning their routes, getting all that down. My secretary, Cheryl, she's going low. She's not sure that she likes me back yet because I'm pretty bossy, but she's getting things done, and we're okay. Everybody else is working very hard. Like I said, the teachers, Jared and David were there the day, Mr. Wright, hanging bulletin boards. I mean, they're really trying to get everything done and ready for the teachers, and we are looking forward to having the students back. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Mr. Mollahan.
Hello and good evening. As I give my first board report as middle school principal, just like everybody else, take some time to recognize our custodial staff for the amazing job that they have been doing all summer to get things like ready and prepared. Mr. Sorber, who is a teacher in our building, so he stopped in today because just like everybody else, we've had teachers that have been coming in and out for the last couple weeks, trying to get into their rooms and do whatever they can because they are excited to be back and get back to, working with our students. So Mr. Sorber came in, and the very first thing he said was these hallways, these floors, they are looking great. I could see my reflection perfectly in them. So for those of us in here who know Chip, for Chip to make a comment like that, that is absolutely a direct compliment to our custodial staff for everything that they've done. Obviously, Jared Regard, Dave, everybody doing all the work outside, inside, John Mirabel doing all the tech stuff inside. Office staff, Jessica George with all the different things going on with our scheduling, Mrs. Horvath, Mrs. Desmaris, who is the heartbeat of the office. Again, middle school people that are here tonight, you know when Mary Beth is not in the building, we know that our building absolutely is not the same. So she's been back, she's been working, getting everything ready. So everybody's ready to get back and have kids back. And again, you think that being in an assistant position, you think you know or you have an idea of what it's like to be in the other chair. But even back with my days from coaching many years ago when I got my first head coaching job, you don't know until you're in it. And the one thing that I know is that the people around me so far in the short time that I've been in this position have absolutely taken care of me. So I'm only as good as the people around me. They're pointing things out that I am remembering, things that I need to focus on. I have my whiteboard with all my to-do lists. They're popping in and looking and saying, hey, Mark, we got to add this to it, or, this is taken care of, let's take this off your list. So a big thank you to all of them. Upcoming important dates. Tomorrow is our first parent meeting, our GMS parent group. I sent my first robotext out today, and from what I understand, it was a success. So chalk one up. Tomorrow I'm going to be making my first robocall, so hopefully it is also successful. That'll be at 4 o'clock in the Media Center. Next week on the 23rd, we have our Chromebook distribution. 3 different time slots, 9 to 11, 1 to 3, and 5 to 7 for 6th graders who need to pick up their Chromebooks. August 24th, we have our 7th and 8th grade scheduled pickup. And also any students who want to go and check out their lockers, they can absolutely go through the building and check their lockers or put things in there if they would like. 2 time slots for that, 9 to 11 and 1 to 3. And then next Thursday, the 25th, we have our 6th grade orientation at 6 o'clock at the middle school. And the 6th grade teachers are already coming in, all ready to go for that. I also gave you guys projected enrollment numbers, but since this has been prepared, those are going to go up. Mrs. Horvath has been taking in enrollments left and right over the last few days. So I expect those numbers to increase before next month when I report on it as well. And then also a big thank you to Miss Heather Lamers, my new assistant. It did not take long for Heather and I to immediately figure out our working relationship, and it's been an absolute blessing to have her here. She is already, in the short time that she's been here in this position, she's a significant addition to this school district. I have seen it already. I believe some of the other administrators have also seen it, and it will not take long for the staff to see that as well. We have a good one in Heather. So Heather, welcome. And finally, athletics, middle school athletics are in full swing in terms of practices and scrimmages. We had our first football scrimmage last night with our 8th grade boys. Volleyball has our first scrimmage tomorrow, and then regular season contests get started in the next week or two. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Mr. Weatherholt.
I think I'm going to start off just like everybody else did to thank my custodial staff who has been short-staffed. We have one person that's been out all summer, but yet the building is in great shape. The floors are waxed and they're getting ready to open. I believe right now, if you walked into the gym, they're working on putting up the new mats that were purchased for the gymnasium. So thank you very much to them for getting the building ready. Freshman orientation is August 23rd at 10 a.m. I would like to thank the Gridiron Club for kicking off the 2022-2023 school year with their 7th annual parade and bonfire. It was pretty impressive. It's been impressive over the years, but what a nice way to kick off the year. We did start our painting the parking lot project again. I think that's been going on for 4 or 5 years now. We were the first school in Northeastern Ohio that started to do that. A lot of other schools, I get yelled at other schools because their student body is bothering their principals, saying, why aren't we doing these things? So it's a nice tradition for the school to get that under our belts. I'm really not sure when I go to the parking lot to see what's going on out there, who's more talented and who puts more work in, whether it's the students or the parents, because clearly there were a couple parking spaces this year that it was just parents. So they might be more excited about it than the students, but it's such a great opportunity to bring them back that way. I want to take a moment to thank the teachers who covered summer school. We're going to give out between 20 and 30 credits, re-earned credits for students that struggled in the regular school year because of COVID and different reasons this year. The other side of that is Friday. I'm a little early on this. Friday, hopefully, we had 3 seniors that did not make graduation that are in summer school, and it appears that if they just finish their coursework, all 3 will graduate this summer. So congratulations to them, and thank you to the teachers that made that opportunity possible. Without them, it doesn't happen at all. We held our new teacher orientation every year. I always make the new teachers come in, or I ask them to come in just to go over policies, expectations, walk through the school, see their classrooms. So we did that. I'd like to welcome Chelsea Kurtz, Matt Chapizzi, and Sean Cripple to the high school. And if anybody wants to come out to the football game Friday, it's us against Madison.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Mrs. Porcello.
Good evening. I, like the others, would like to start by thanking the custodial staff and the maintenance staff and Jared for making my move pretty seamless. I laugh because I was at my desk working on Friday, and Matt Hanna shows up to move my desk into my new office. So it was kind of last minute for me. I wasn't prepared, but I left on Friday, still working at the table in my old office. I came back on Monday, electrical had been run, a phone line had been put in. My materials and Jen Kirby's stuff had all been moved to our new office and was all set up for us, ready to go. And it was no small feat, and they did it, no complaints. And they've been doing just a wonderful job all summer working. I watch them each day on the little tasks, so thank you. Also, I have a new hire for the special ed department. Susan Beebe will be our new special ed supervisor. She'll be working at the meetings at GPS, the middle school, and the high school, and doing other little tasks that we can fit in to the schedule for her. So I'd like to welcome her. Ms. Farina had mentioned some of the moves at GPS today. As I was leaving, I noticed that the final piece, well, not the final piece, one of the final pieces of the new cool-down room was added. The door is there. We just need the padding now for inside of that room. So it's well on its way to being finished. Hopefully before school starts, we'll be ready to go there. One of the things that I worked on a majority of the summer was a character focus portion of our PBIS for the elementary schools. We have a great PACS program that's been in place for a bit, but adding on to that, focusing on some of those character assets that students need to be familiar with in order to be productive, students and productive adults. So there's 9 assets: citizenship and kindness, one each month of school, minus the first month is citizenship and kindness. Respect, gratitude, self-control, perseverance, courage, empathy, compassion, and integrity. In my work, I put together a slides presentation that has readings that fit into each of those categories, picture books to read to the kids, lesson ideas, and just some ideas of things for people to use in the classrooms when working on those character assets. Another huge thing that came to fruition this summer was we'll be participating in a federally funded project that is working to improve career readiness and employment outcomes for students with the moderate and severe disabilities. It's a project that is run through Kent State University, and they'll be creating a cohort of teachers, members from the Ohio Opportunities for Ohioans with Disabilities, OOD as we call it, and the Asheville County Board of DD will work together to better our transition plans for students with moderate and severe disabilities. So Brenda Unsinger graciously volunteered to take part in that. and go through the process. It is a 3-year process with a handful of meetings over that amount of time where they'll come together and work on that, hopefully building up our transition.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And lastly, we have Mr. Riley.
Good evening, everyone. I suppose in keeping with the theme, Mr. Mollahan gave his first report as a principal. I get to give my first report as assistant superintendent. So I'm really looking forward to this. And I will echo my colleagues and those that have said, truly appreciate all the help that all the administrators have given me in the first few weeks here that I've been in the position. I've also had a chance to interact with several of the teachers, several of the classified employees, and the general theme is we've all got your back, Dave. They're doing things to make sure that nothing slips through the cracks. And I truly appreciate that as I kind of get underway with all of the new activities that I'm associated with. Part of my board report is the packet that I gave you this evening. I took the liberty of looking over state testing scores from not only this past year, but I also thought maybe it was valuable at some point to take a look more or less of a longitudinal situation. So I kind of took a glimpse of where we've been this past year, and also went back 3, 4, 5 years kind of even along the way. I'm not going to go into the elaborate detail of all of it, but I do want to point out a few of the things that are along the way. First off, over on page 1 of the document, you can see how we ranked, I guess, proficiency-wise on the standards in accordance with what the state was. So, for instance, there's 20 standards or 20 indicators rather that were on there last year. Geneva, we had 10 of the indicators that were above the state average. We were above in 3rd grade ELA, 8th grade ELA, 3rd grade math, 6th grade math, and then algebra 1, geometry, 5th grade science, 8th grade science, biology, and U.S. history. So that's a nice feather in our cap to be above the state average, and a few of those we were right on par with them as well. From last year, spring of 2022 to the spring of 2021, we actually improved our percentage-wise in 9 indicators. Those would have been ELA 3rd grade, 4th grade ELA, 3rd and 4th grade math, 6th grade math, 8th grade math, geometry, science, and biology. So again, we're above the state average in several of the areas, and we're also making noticeable strides from one year to the next over the last couple of years, and that is nice to see. Geneva actually posted a higher percentage than the state average in 4 categories in terms of math, in geometry, algebra, 6th and 3rd grade math, and that's a nice feat. Especially the older the students get, the more rigorous, I guess, and the complex the questions become. So it was nice to see on that end. Our averages in Geneva and across the state are lower than they were pre-COVID. I think everybody is still recovering from what happened, and we're seeing that learning loss and that gap of knowledge, and we keep moving along and trying to inch ourselves back up to where we were before COVID. There's no doubt with the phenomenal quality of the staff that we have here and the teachers and everybody working together that we're going to meet those and surpass those as we move forward. One of the other things that kind of jumped out was that in ELA, across the last 4 or 5 years, that's in writing has been our weakest strand, pretty much in every grade level, every year, bar none. And that's something I know that we're going to work on this year as a district to try to see if we can't address that. But overall in the packet, I've tried to give you some graphs, some charts, talking about kind of from a longitudinal situation where we've been in not only in reading, but also in mathematics. Took a little bit of time to do a look at the science as well over the past few years. And you can kind of see how we're going up or we're going down across the board. And that's neat to see. Sometimes we just take a look at where we've just been, but I think if we can take a look at where we've come from and how, not only where we've come from, but where we intend to go and where maybe the mark that we're trying to make and were we at that mark ever in our past few years, that's something to look at. There's two items in there. They're called a longitudinal One is on page 11 and one is on page 16. And essentially, the math is on 11 and 16 is the ELA. Essentially, it's a state snapshot of how the students performed in the accelerated advanced proficient developing ranges from 3rd grade all the way through 8th grade. So even though you can give or take some of the students because of withdrawals or move-ins and things like that, the main core of them are kind of staying together. So you can kind of see how they've scored as a class for the last 5 years. When you get to the high school level, because those courses are so, I guess they're distant or they're actually unique and they're singletons as opposed to when you get into geometry, for instance, or you get into algebra, they don't do a longitudinal study for those. So all we can do is kind of predict how they might do once they get into the Algebra 1 and once they might get into the geometry. But at least from 3rd through 8th grade, it's a nice little feature that the state provides, and you can see whether we're getting stronger or whether we're getting weaker in certain areas. So I think as a staff, we can start taking a look at that along the way. So again, I gave you all that information, more or less just I took some time and went into it because I wanted to give everybody a chance to kind of see not only this past year, which obviously is very important, but where we've been overall for the last few years and see if we can kind of move forward on that. So moving forward, at the last board meeting, it was announced that the promotion for the 3rd grade reading guarantee, the score was going to increase from 683 to 685, with a 47 being a score being the reading subscore, which would be the minimum needed if the score of 685 was not attained, which is going to affect this year. The question was posed, how many students would have been impacted due to the 2-point increase? And Mr. Arndt had posed that question. I wanted to do a little bit of digging. Actually, there would have been 3 students that would have been impacted. 2 of them were at Cork and 1 was at GPS. There would have been a 4th student, however, they made that 47-point reading subscore. So there would have been 3 students that would not have passed the 3rd grade guarantee under that little criteria right there of the 2-point spread. We had an administrative meeting. We've had multiple administrative meetings, I should say, over the past few days there. And one of the things that we talked about when we were all looking at our building scores and our building data and the recap, I guess from my sense, my general theme takeaways, was that every one of us, we wanted to do anything we do with fidelity. Anything, whatever it would take to help our students be successful, we were willing to uncover any stone to try to see what we could do to help our students. We talked collectively that we want to make connections with our students, both academically and in a person. We can look at as much data as we want, but they are still people and they are still children, and we want to make sure that we make that connection on that level as well, because they really do go hand in hand. We talked about the importance of item analysis and to get that in our hands of our teachers. We talked about doing what we can to support our teachers. We know that they work tirelessly to do what they can to make an impact on our students, and anything that we can do to help them certainly is what we want to do. And finally, we were all looking for some deeper enrichment and some connectivity with the students in the classroom. Gone are the days where our teacher would stand up in the front of the room and simply lecture for 30 to 40 minutes. Now we look for that engagement. We look for them to be interacting in groups, thinking outside of the box and moving forward. We have our Waiver Day coming up, and I've listed there some of the topics. We will have the areas of focus actually are going to be on tech integration, the instructional practices and strategies, and the social emotional learning. Between the district and some school administration, we're being joined by a few different teachers. Corinne Ball, John Mirabel, Lisa Stowell, and Kathy Simmons have agreed to help us out with the various presentations. We do have ViewSonic and Newline and Character Strong representatives coming in to either talk about the SEL curriculum or how to use these new interactive boards that are throughout the district. Finally, on my end, I'm still looking at a testing schedule and a calendar. I've been working on trying to figure out if we can create a textbook inventory adoption cycle and posting the annual notices information onto the website that we worked on as an administrative team last year. Again, as I do appreciate all the help that everybody's given me, and I will continue to do my best as I am moving forward and get everything, make sure nothing falls through the cracks, let's put it that way. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Mr. Riley, for providing us with the testing results. That's a lot of really good information there, and I look forward to getting into it. Thank you for compiling that all.
All right, thank you.
Get ready for emails with questions.
All right, so last month we had kind of a lengthy discussion about the board office location, and it was decided at that time that we needed to go back to the engineering firm Smolin because they didn't give us exactly what we had contracted with them to get. And so they did respond to that request, and they have provided us with really what they should have provided us with before, which was a rendering of an attached building to our media center on the south side. If you recall, the other buildings that they sent us the renderings for were not attached, and we felt that that could make a difference in our decision-making and the costs. So we have all been given that information. We've had a little bit of a chance to digest this information. I think this is all of the information that we were waiting on. So I'd like to open up the discussion amongst the board members about their thoughts on the new renderings and the new estimates that were provided by Smolin.
Do you want me to start?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. So looking at the two different schematics that they provided, I would be in favor of scheme 2, where the south side of the media center, it has the shared wall, but the space would be added on. That would be my preference.
I think that that would be scheme 1. Scheme 2 has the storage rooms that are existing. Scheme 1 has like, we'll call it a breezeway or something that comes from the building to the other, to the board office.
My pages are stapled backwards then. Okay, so the rendering that I'm in favor of is this rendering.
And it shows entry from media center at the top?
Yes.
Okay. So that's scheme 1.
That's scheme 1?
Yeah.
It's
So,
minuscule, Mrs. Ortiz, but if you look in the bottom left corner, if that helps.
There it is, okay. Okay, I didn't see that down there.
okay,
So scheme 1.
okay. Okay, any other board members care to speak at this time about their opinions on this? I think it's important that because we needed to wait an extra month to get the renderings from Smolin that we had actually requested, and this is not something that I personally would like to hold up on. I think we need to move forward with the decision. We do have all of the information that we're going to get, unless there was something new that any one of us has seen or wanted to explore in the meantime, but I'm not aware of that. So, I mean, basically, we've got it down to our choices, the pairings building, which I believe we all have toured, or adding on to the existing media center on the south side of the media center.
Madam President, the only difference between scheme 1 and scheme 2 is scheme 2 uses 3 spaces in the media center. Scheme 1, you walk through a hatch and you enter a new office space.
Yes, so scheme 2 uses 3 existing parts of the media center that are not used for student use at this time and have not been used as student use in the past. They're storage rooms. Although I will say the conference room does look like it could be using the computer lab, but that computer lab, as has been told to me, can be relocated to another area of the school and house the same amount of students. But the other 2 areas are storage areas only that were never utilized as part of the media center for students in the building. So that is the difference. The scheme 1 has the entry coming from the media center. It's sharing the outside wall It is not using any existing rooms in the media center at all.
I would concur with Mrs. Ortiz on scheme 2.
Okay.
One.
Wait, one?
She said
One.
Or, yeah, scheme 1. Which is completely, it's not detached, but it's completely separate. You're only sharing a passageway
Right.
with that section of the current building. And
Right.
this one has a new outside entrance to it.
Right. And to be clear, scheme 2 is going to have an outside entrance as well. Yeah.
I think that's right. The biggest difference is one of them uses current space, that's storage space, and the other is entirely new space, none of the media center being used, right?
Correct.
Number
Correct.
1 is the one where no current media center space will be used.
Correct.
Correct. Okay. That's the one that I prefer as well.
Okay. Ms. Fisher, would you like to share your opinion?
Well, I have always liked pairings. Several reasons. It's a reduced cost. It's already, the timetable is probably going to be cut in half as far as getting it ready to use. One of the problems was the land that's adjacent to the pairings, which is not part of the deal. How is it zoned? Is it?
Well, that's a good question.
You know, is it business? Is it, it kind of depends on how
Mr.
that
Arndt, do you know
property
that?
is zoned.
Do you know how it's zoned? Is it residential? Is it business? Is it commercial? Do you know how it's zoned, that land that's adjacent?
Yeah,
in
the
front of Pairings.
Eagle Street, Park Street corner, where the old elementary used to be.
Yeah.
That piece of land that, I mean, if it's
Big
not
grass
zoned
area.
residential or apartment buildings or something,
You walk right
that's a different
She's asking if you know how that
kind
is
of
zoned.
atmosphere
That's a great
for
question.
that neighborhood.
Oh, it's all business district, that whole area.
Yeah,
business
I thought
district.
it was commercial.
Okay.
It's what?
Commercial.
Business.
Yeah.
Business. Zoned.
Okay, I think, and I understand you said you're in favor of pairings, and as you
Right,
have been.
right.
And I think we need to be clear and to reiterate, because we did talk about this at the last meeting. There are big differences, not only with the location of the building and the building itself, but true to what Ms. Fisher said, the timing. So it would be much faster to move into pairings. They have told us that we could be in by the beginning of next school year. The building is already built, so that accounts for the time frame. It is a less expensive option. The other part is that we would not own the land that's on the corner of where Pairings is currently located. We would not own that land.
Another thing we could check, though, is who does own the land and is it for sale and how much is it? I mean, it's conceivable that we could get that piece of property plus the Pairings building for less than we could get just a building over on the high school property.
The entire property is owned by Renew Partners, the
Okay.
group with Sean Neese and Chuck Borsakoff. So
Okay.
they own the entire property there.
Do you know, are they intending to use it
I would think so.
or sell it?
I would think that they would have plans. The best
Yeah, do
question
we
would
know
be
what
to
the
ask
plans
them.
are? I mean,
And I also think we need to remember too that it has been expressed by some of the board members early on anyway that, I mean, purchasing Pairings puts us in a position to own another property in the district. And there was some feeling that we didn't necessarily want to own another property within the district. And so buying Pairings, we would own that property, and then if we were interested in buying the vacant land and they were willing to sell and the price was great, then we've got that vacant land that we are now, that we would own and have to maintain along with all of our other buildings. So, I mean,
Okay.
that was something that I think made it more to the con side than the pro side of weighing out our options. As opposed to having an addition onto our media center. It's on property we already own. We're already maintaining this property. That is a benefit. The the biggest, I don't want to say negative, but the biggest difference is the cost. And you've got a very large cost difference between purchasing pairings, which is just under $1 million, and this scheme number 1 that the other board members have talked about being in favor of, which is 1.8. And that's
Plus there's
prior.
time.
What's that?
Time is also an issue, too.
Right. The 1.8 is before the 15% contingency. We talked last month about how some of these prices might be inflated. Maybe it's not 1.8, maybe it could be 1.5. Maybe pairings ends up being 1.1 instead of just under $1 million. I mean, these costs, we don't know. We don't have a crystal ball, we don't know. So I think what we have to do is we have to make a decision based on, yes, cost and time, but also this is an investment in the future of the district. And do we want that investment to be a freestanding building that is added to the other properties that we currently own and maintain and pay taxes on? Or do we want that investment to be a building that is a part of what we already own? We've got the visibility here at the high school. It kind of makes sense from the perspective of we are on site. We don't have a campus layout of our schools, but and if we did, it would make a whole lot more sense to have a board office as a part of the campus. But the high school is the biggest school in the district. I mean, there is sense to that too. But this is an investment in the future. This building will be around for many, many years to come. So while the cost might be higher than pairings, and it might take us a little bit longer, I mean, there's some value in the fact that it's, on our property attached to a school and an investment.
Is there any, I know the other issue building issue that I've been thinking about is the football stadium. Is there any location on the football stadium thought about, or I know at one point they were talking about just east of here, having a statement or a stadium down there. I'm thinking of the Lakeside campus situation with the stadium, football stadium, the board building, the school buildings, and everything all on a campus. Now, if that area over to the east of here is being thought about for a football stadium, that would give us kind of a campus-type situation, and it would make more sense to have the board here. I don't know how far any discussions, or if any discussions have been done beyond somebody thinking, hey, we could put it over there.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'd just like to say that the demographics are a bit different at Lakeside than here. Excuse me. And their campus, we don't have a campus because it doesn't really fit our demographics in this area. We have neighborhood elementary schools, and they decided when they built their new buildings at Lakeside that they'd be campused altogether, so that any transient students or that sort of thing wouldn't have to change schools when they move. And so I think it's a different set of needs that we have. So I don't know what my point is, but I guess just that I don't feel like a campus is all that vital to this school district like it is for Lakeside, I think. That's for whatever that's worth.
Okay. Is there any other thoughts that any of you have to weigh in on this? Because I think that it sounds to me as if we need to make a motion to either move forward with offering to purchase pairings, or we need to move forward with the rendering and estimate from Smolin to construct a building attached to our media center.
I don't remember. Did Smolin give us a timeline? No, I don't think they did.
No, they
so
would
do we
not-
know it'll take longer? We're just assuming that it will.
It will definitely take longer.
Okay, that's fair.
The Renew Partners offer is a turnkey approach.
Yeah.
So if you take that, they build it, when it's complete, they turn it over to the district. And they have indicated that they could be done within a year. Now, this is 2 months old now.
Right.
June 22nd is the date of that offer, and they told you during your tours that they would hold this for 60 days. I thought somebody said that at the last
They said if we had a
discussion.
decision by last month's meeting, that they would hold it. but
Last
now-
month's.
By last
Well,
month's.
then
so
that,
now
then
we
that
don't-
makes it an old.
Yeah, so we don't know what the price would be now.
As I explained the last meeting, if we were to go with one of Smollen's options, the first thing that you have to do is negotiate a contract with Smollen. Once you have that and enter into that, then they would begin work. They have to design, go through several phases. Design development, schematic design, construction documents. Once those have been approved by the board, then it goes out to bid, and then it's subject to however long that general contractor is going to take to build it. That would be a longer timeline, no doubt, than a turnkey approach.
Thank you.
Do you, as board members, feel that we are in a position tonight to make a motion to move forward on one of these options?
Yes.
I make a motion that we move forward on scheme 1.
I'll second.
Is there any additional discussion?
Mrs. Ortiz, do you mind if I ask you a question? Yeah, so you're in favor now of the Smollen rendering on this campus, as opposed to pairings? I thought last month you said you would prefer pairings.
Pairings is faster, it was less expensive, now there's no guarantee, and the contractor that we would be working with is involved in multiple projects right now. So I think we've waited, we may have outweighted our welcome.
Okay, thank you. I was just curious what the change of thinking was. Thank you.
You do realize that even when you go out to bid, the contractor that wins the bid could also be involved in multiple projects at the same time.
Okay. Any additional discussion? Okay. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Milliken Dixon,
I have to go first? What is it yes or no on, I'm sorry, what's the motion?
the motion
move-
is scheme 1 from Smollen.
Then yes.
Mrs. Ortiz,
Yes.
Mr. Arndt,
Yes.
Ms. Fisher,
Yes.
and Mrs. Metzler.
Yes. Okay, the superintendent recommends the board approve the enclosed bus stop locations and time schedules of bus routes for the 22-23 school year.
So moved.
I'll second.
Any discussion on that?
Yes. Are we running the same number of buses that we ran at the start of last school year?
Yes, I believe so, yes.
Yes. And how many bus drivers do we have right now?
17.
Do we have
I'm
enough
sorry,
to
I didn't
start
hear
the
the
school
answer.
year?
17?
17.
17, thank you.
Is that enough to start the school year?
I mean, certainly if you know of someone that would like to drive a bus, I'm happy to hire them. But yes.
Okay. Thank you.
I was just going to also note that this is on here annually. It's required by Ohio Revised Code that it's board approved.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Milliken Dixon,
Yes.
Mrs. Ortiz,
Yes.
Mr. Arndt,
Yes.
Ms. Fisher,
Yes.
and Mrs. Metzler.
Yes. The superintendent recommends that the board approve the enclosed student parent device handbook.
Move.
Second.
Any discussion on that?
Yes, I have a few comments to make. The only changes in this really were to reflect the change of vendor we're going with this year for the optional technology protection plan that families have the option to take advantage of. So this group, which is the Worth group, is $8 less. So anyone who purchased the plan last year paid $30. And with this new group, it will be $22. It will also be completely done online, which will streamline, hopefully, the process of registering for that, which will be a good thing. And it will cover all accidental damages. This is the one that I did an all-call with that unfortunately the robocall system we were having issues with, and I'd put out 2 calls and then I'd put out the transcription of that. But the full 3-page document on this that is very informative and has the information is posted on the website. And we posted it because the link to register is from August 22nd to September 2nd. Keep in mind, this is only for students in grades 7 through 12. Grades 6 through 12. 7 through 12 students, since they did take their devices home over the summer, will need to bring their device in. There are different inspection days and times set up, which again are posted online in the letter. The 6th graders do not have to have their devices inspected because they will be getting them, they've already been inspected, and they'll be picking them up here in the coming weeks. So that's why only 7 through 12 need to get the inspection done, but this is available for students in grades 6 through 12.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Ortiz?
Yes.
Mr. Arndt?
Yes.
Ms. Fisher?
Yes.
Mrs. Metzler?
Yes.
Mrs. Milliken Dixon?
Yes.
The superintendent recommends that the board approve the enclosed staff handbook.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Are there changes to this? I didn't read last year's.
Minimal. Mr. Liebert had made some updates. I know updated some information before he left. There is a new appendix to it. A lot of it was formatting and sort of just wordsmithing.
Okay, thank you.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Arndt?
Yes.
Ms. Fisher?
Yes.
Mrs. Metzler?
Yes.
Mrs. Milliken Dixon?
Yes.
And Mrs. Ortiz?
Yes.
The superintendent recommends that the board approve the enclosed agreement with community counseling.
Moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Again, I just wanted to comment that I certainly look forward to the partnership and being able to provide our students additional services.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Fisher?
Yes.
Mrs. Metzler?
Yes.
Mrs. Milliken Dixon?
Yes.
Mrs. Ortiz?
Yes.
And Mr. Arndt?
Yes.
The superintendent recommends that the board approve the enclosed memorandum of understanding between the Geneva Area City School Board of Education and GATA.
Moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just to note, this is for the major ed advisor position, which again will be a new supplemental position for us.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Metzler?
Yes.
Mrs. Milliken Dixon?
Yes.
Mrs. Ortiz?
Yes.
Mr. Arndt?
Yes.
And Ms. Fisher?
Yes.
The superintendent recommends that the board approve the enclosed resolution for a memorandum of understanding approving a one-time stipend for OPSI Local 307 and certain non-bargaining unit positions.
I'll move.
Second.
Any discussion? And roll call, please.
Mrs. Milliken Dixon?
Yes.
Mrs. Ortiz?
Yes.
Mr. Arndt?
Yes.
Ms. Fisher?
Yes.
And Mrs. Metzler?
Yes. The superintendent recommends that the following administrator be hired on a 2-year contract.
Moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
I know that Mr. Mollahan had sort of recognized her in his report, but I would certainly like to welcome Heather Lamers as well. She is here this evening if you'd like to stand. She has had numerous years of experience in North Carolina, but prior to that, she has worked in Northeast Ohio. She received her bachelor's degree from Cleveland State and obtained her master's degree while she was in North Carolina. She comes certainly with a wide variety of experiences and a wealth of ideas and is very well versed in technology. So much like Mr. Mollahan said, she has been a great asset thus far to the district and I'm sure will continue to do so, and is really just jumping in and showing initiative and volunteering for a variety of things. So welcome.
Welcome.
Welcome aboard.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Ortiz?
Yes.
Mr. Arndt?
Yes.
Ms. Fisher?
Yes.
Mrs. Metzler?
Yes.
And Mrs. Milliken Dixon?
Yes.
The superintendent recommends the following personnel actions for the 22-23 school year.
Move.
Second.
Any discussion?
Again, just a few comments on some of these. I know there's quite a few here, but certainly I would like to thank Mr. Gruber, custodian at the middle school, for his years of service and dedication to the district, and certainly wish him well on his retirement. Also listed in here is Mrs. Porcello mentioned previously, and again, she is with us this evening as well. Susan Beebe is our new special education supervisor, if you wouldn't mind standing for a moment. She comes with experience in a number of areas, such as a special education teacher, an English teacher, and a therapeutic support staff, just to name a few. She received her bachelor's degree from Edinburgh University, as well as her master's and principal's certificate from there as well. We are certainly excited to have her on board as well, and welcome her to the district.
Welcome.
Also under F4, you will notice in the extracurricular assignments, we are certainly happy to reinstate our department head supplementals in the areas of math, English language arts, science, and social studies for grades 6-12. I know that myself, Mr. Weatherholt, and Mr. Riley and Mr. Mollahan recently met with them. I certainly thank those individuals for coming in over the summer to meet with us and talk about what that will look like and gather their input as well on some things that they want to do.
Very good. Okay. Roll call, please.
Mr. Arndt?
Yes.
Ms. Fisher?
Yes.
Mrs. Metzler?
Yes.
Mrs. Milliken Dixon?
Yes.
And Mrs. Ortiz?
Yes.
The superintendent recommends the following volunteer coaches for the 22-23 school year.
Moved.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Fisher?
Yes.
Mrs. Metzler?
Yes.
Mrs. Milliken Dixon?
Yes.
Mrs. Ortiz?
Yes.
And Mr. Arndt?
Yes.
Okay, we've now reached the second hearing of the public. The same rules apply. You'll have 5 minutes to speak. We'll have a total of 30 minutes in duration. If there's anybody that would like to come up to the mic at the front of the auditorium, you can state your name and address for the record and address us.
Michelle Craig, 200 Cherrywood Circle, Geneva, Ohio. So I got my letter today that there's no gifted teacher hired at the middle school. So, we're going to pay $1.8 million for a new board office. Our middle school still has no language arts curriculum. We still have no gifted language arts teacher at the middle school. And I have proof here that people have reached out to obtain that job at the middle school. There are teachers that are working here now who have offered to fill that position, and they are legally able to do so through the Ohio Department of Education. As long as they are working on the certification, they can hold the job. Why is this not happening? I have an email from somebody in February who reached out to Mr. Riley to fill this job. Was she ever called? No. At this point, this is personal because it's my kid. And I can guarantee you, Mrs. Metzler, if this was Elena, this would be a different conversation. Your job is to serve our kids, and not one of you are doing it. I am so sick of the right fighting. Mrs. Kaufman offered to come back and teach this part-time until the job was filled. Do you know who's reached out to Mrs. Kaufman? No one. And you can laugh and guffaw all you want. It's the truth. Serve our kids, or get off.
Abigail Williams, 56 Erie Street, but I am reading a statement that was sent to me by somebody who couldn't be here tonight. This is for Michelle Gala, 4648 East Maple Road. As a taxpayer of this district who pulled my children because of past administration issues, I have no confidence in this administration. My gifted children academically were not being met. They have now graduated college. What would make them come back to Geneva? Certainly not missing ELA curricula. The academics now are worse than when they left. I am a huge advocate of school choice, and I will help anyone who wants to move their children to an online charter school. Both of my boys graduated from OHVA with honors, one a year early. Both received full or almost full rides to their undergraduate programs. The oldest has gone on to receive 2 fellowships to graduate school. Geneva didn't prepare them. It definitely wouldn't prepare them now. And for the record, we never had an issue with Geneva teachers. They weren't supported then either. Thank you.
Brock Pearson, 56 Erie Street, Geneva, Ohio. I guess I just want to make it clear for people that are watching this in review that we asked the question, what is the motion? And then voted to approve a $1.8 million decision in a matter of less than 30 seconds. This is my time. Thank you. That is absolutely insane. I've been very nice. I've been very nice to you for a long time. And what I've gotten in response is not only not cordiality or professionalism, it is an absolute incompetence. If you were my coworkers, I would advocate for you to be fired. If I had to work with people on this board in the same manner where everyone says yes and there's no diversity of thought whatsoever, literally laughing, you can laugh at me all you want. I've been laughing at you far before I knew anything in the past 6 months. Oh, look, this person's not being challenged because absolutely no one wants to run for this position. I wonder what happens. So today I share the sentiment of Mr. Lillie. I just shake my head. You guys will hear nothing. Nothing I will say will ever make a difference. But you guys have made my job so easy because I can promise you, if your name is ever on a ballot again, I will not have to do a thing.
I'm back. Jennifer Wilson, 3215 South Myers. I have 6 kids in this school district, 3 at Austinburg, 2 in the middle school, and 1 at the high school. You have taken many opportunities from our kids. You want us to pay for insurance on our Chromebooks. You get a $1.8 million building? That's ridiculous. Give our kids back their education. Give them back their opportunities and quit taking from them. They get the bare minimum, and you guys are getting a $1.8 million building? That is disgusting.
Hi. Dale Korn, 119 Green Ridge. I've had 2 kids graduate from the Geneva High School system. Last one in 2020. They're both honor students at Ohio State. So anyways, y'all can't figure out where to build a building? You've got land. You're looking to buy something else. Why? Can you not save money by doing it on land you own already? Or is there something else that we don't know about? We have a lot of executive meetings on the school board. We never hear about the results. When we have questions coming in here, we never hear the results. Do you hear? Do you do anything about it? Do you even care? I don't think so. which is why I'm going to run for school board the next time. Because, sorry, y'all, I don't even have a word for it.
Just to clarify, sir, the motion this evening was for the board office to be on land that we do own.
Oh, good for you then.
Kevin?
Then what about the house that's sitting up there on Route 84? What are y'all going to do with that?
Kevin,
It's sitting there and y'all.
can we explain the funding of the building?
He's asking a completely different question.
Yeah.
Not anything but
Doesn't matter.
I didn't hear what you said.
Okay,
I didn't hear what Sally said.
I think we're done.
Oh, okay.
All right. We're moving on to other. Is there anything under other this evening? No, sir, it's not, but if there's somebody else that would like to speak, they can come to the mic. If there's not anybody speaking, then we'll move on with our next item. Do we have anything under other?
Yes. Yes, I have a number of things to report on. The first being summer school. We had 57 students attend the most recent session of summer school. The elementaries wrap theirs up on August 12th, and the high school will finish theirs this Friday. As was previously mentioned, the amount of administrative planning, so I would like to take this time to thank all of the administrators who have been planning for the upcoming school year. We met 2 days in June, and most recently we met another day and a half here in August in order to plan and gear up for the new school year. So we're very excited about, I'm very excited, I'll say at least, about some of the things that we have been planning for. I also want to echo and recognize and thank, as I think every administrator did, the housekeepers and custodians and maintenance and technology staff for all of their work this summer. And in fact, Mrs. Metzler was in the other day, and I said, before you leave, you have to come look at the floors. I've been talking about these floors in every building that I've gone in, because nothing speaks to me more than the fresh, shiny floors that are newly waxed that say the start of a school year. So certainly all of that would not be done without the work of the staff. So I certainly appreciate their work in getting the buildings ready for the start of the school year and for students and staff to return. Open houses, there are many dates of things. August 23rd is the 6th grade laptop distribution. August 24th, we have 7th and 8th grade schedule pickup. Most all of the open houses, as again were talked about earlier, are on August 25th. So I encourage you to visit our district website for the specific times and details for each of those events so that hopefully you will attend. Continuing forward, our opening days for staff are August 25th and 26th. We have a variety of presenters and topics that will be covered during those 2 days, as well as trainings. Teachers will receive professional development on the Ohio improvement process, technology integration, instructional strategies, additional professional development on their interactive boards that they had requested, and the middle and high school staff will get trained on the newly purchased social emotional learning curriculum, Character Strong. So 2 jam-packed days, but I think that they will be very productive and worthwhile. As a reminder, as I think many of you already know, school begins on August 29th for students in grades 1 through 12, August 31st for our kindergartners, and preschool starts on September 6th. Overall, our enrollment numbers at this point are pretty much the same, just right under 2,200 students. I know I've spoken with Mrs. Horvath, and there are still students that are enrolling, so that number I'm sure will fluctuate here in the next few weeks, or I should say week and a half leading up to the first day of school. Some returning items this year, we will do our first day signs again. If you remember those from last year, those will get posted here in the next few days. Certainly encourage people to partake in doing the signs and sending those in, and we will get those posted on social media. I know it's nice to see all the students and staff posted with those. Also returning will be the Soaring Eagles program that was started last year, the Student and Staff Recognition Program. We will certainly bring that back again. We have some new items this year, as I believe was previously mentioned at last month's board meeting, the communication group that we'll be working with. So their hope is to make our district Facebook one of the main communication channels. So please follow us if you are not already. You will also find a new district calendar on our website. It's actually, I think it got posted today, I saw it. So we are trying to streamline things on the website and make it easier for everyone to find events that are happening all across the district. So the administrators have been adding and will continue to add events to the calendar. It is under the Student Parent Resource tab. We've also hyperlinked the athletics page to it as well. So whether you're looking for athletic or non-athletic events, hopefully it will be an easier way to find things on the website and know when things are happening, because we can certainly invite people to come in and certainly attend our events that are planned. In regards to the before and after school program that we are partnering with the YMCA this year, at this time we will be opening the Austinburg site. So I encourage you to get registered if this is something that you want to participate in and take advantage of this year. And certainly as those numbers increase, we will open up the other sites as well. I want to briefly just touch upon this because I know that our food services director, Mrs. Jones, has gotten questions asking why Geneva won't be providing free meals to all of our students this year, like maybe some of the other schools. And the answer, most simply, is that none of our schools qualify at this time, which is why we are not able to do that. So the Ohio Department of Education determines eligibility, and the percentage of identified students has to be greater than 40%, and none of our buildings are at that threshold. So that is why Geneva will not be able to offer free meals to all students this year. We certainly encourage you, though, as you did pre-pandemic, to complete an application if you do need assistance in regards to school lunches and the meals. And then lastly, because I know guidance had just come out on this, and we certainly have been talking about it internally and just having some questions about how we will return to school in regards to COVID and what we will or will not be requiring or following. So in consultation with our nurses and the health department, we have tried to streamline everything into just one page to make it easier for parents and everyone to understand. So please look for that to be posted in the coming days. I'll just highlight a few things. We tried to break it into 3 sections: safety protocols, what happens if you're exposed, and then what happens if you actually test positive for COVID-19. So a number of the safety protocols that were in place last year will remain in place. Certainly we're going to encourage frequent hand washing and, maintaining 3 feet distance, but you will find the whole list, again, when this gets posted. If you are exposed, or I should say if your child is exposed to someone with COVID-19, they will be encouraged to mask for 10 days, and if they're experiencing symptoms, we will certainly recommend that they test. It is not required, but again, we will be encouraging and recommending that. If a student actually tests positive for COVID-19, much like last year, they will have to stay home for 5 days. They can return on day 6 as long as they don't have a fever or other symptoms, and they will need to mask then days 6 to 10. It was noted, and we have pulled this straight from the Ohio Department of Health, that some of the symptoms they're reporting, such as loss of taste and smell, might actually persist for the weeks or months afterwards. So those would not extend the isolation period. So we are certainly following that guidance that was put out, and that you'll see that that will be included in our letter. So that is sort of a broad overview of our COVID protocols. I'm just happy that we are having all students return again at the start of the year, much like last year, and certainly hope to stay in school all year.
Does anybody else have anything for other? Okay. I recommend that the board hold an executive session for the purpose of considering the appointment, employment, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of public employee or official.
I'll move.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Metzler?
Yes.
Mrs. Milliken Dixon?
Yes.
Mrs. Ortiz?
Yes.
Mr. Arndt?
Yes.
And Ms. Fisher?
Yes.
We will not be taking any further action when we return from executive session. We thank you all for attending this evening, and we look forward to a good school year.